Hi everybody, welcome to another A+ 1102 lesson with a bunch of practice questions at the end. Today I'm going to tell you everything you need to know about Objective 1.4 Control Panel, and I'll give you some practice questions at the end, just like usual, to give you an idea of the kind of questions you might be asked on your real exam and how ready you are for the real exam. So let's go ahead and get straight to it. We are looking at Control Panel. Alright, so we're going to cover all of these objectives, or these are essentially different options within Control Panel that you just need to know what they are, what you can do with them, and when you should be using them. Really is pretty much what you're going to need to know. So first things first, before I get into any of the specific stuff, let's go to Control Panel, right? Just to get an idea of what it is, I'm going to hit my Windows key and literally just type in Control Panel and it'll bring it up. Okay, here we go. So if I full screen this is basically like a centralized place where you can access a wide variety of system management features. So you can have a look at all the different options I have here. Granted, I am working on Windows 11 myself, but the same concept carries over to Windows 10. So, if you want to look at your File Explorer options, I could click on that, and that would open up this tab over here, which would allow me to configure File Explorer options. If I want to do anything to do with my devices and printers, I would click on that, and that would open up the relevant part within my system, which is going to help me manage that. So it's basically just like a centralized method of managing all of those kinds of things, right? So with that being said, you're going to need to know how to go about configuring pretty much all the options we see here. So we'll start off with internet options. So you go to your control panel, and you can literally, I'll actually just bring it up again. You can go to control panel and type in the top right hand corner section here. I might type in internet, and it'll give me internet options, right? So that way you don't have to search through the list. Within internet options, there's a couple of things you can do, right? What should you use it for? You can customize your browsing experience. You can change your homepage, your fonts, your tab behavior. Basically, you're customizing your experience browsing the internet, right? Anything to do with the internet is essentially what you're going to use this for. So there's a couple of different tabs within this that allow you to change different things. Within the general tab, you can change your homepage appearance, your browsing history management. Within the security tab, of course, it's going to be things relating to security, the level of security, your trusted and restricted sites, pop-up blockers, custom security. In the privacy tab, your tracking protection, your cookie management, your website data deletion, things to that effect, right? You can have a read. I'm not going to necessarily go through all of it, but just understand that in the control panel, you can click on internet options. If you're managing anything to do with your internet, how your browsing experience is, your internet privacy settings, that kind of stuff, it's going to be in the internet options section. So as long as you know that, you should be fine. The next one, devices and printers. It's almost in the name, right? If you want to manage anything about your devices and or your printers, you'll use the devices and or printers section. So it's a central hub for managing your hardware devices that are connected to your computer, including your printers, scanners, external drives, cameras, and more. So you can view and manage them. You can see a list of all the devices that are currently connected. You can set a default printer. If you're in an office that has multiple different printers to choose from, you can select a default printer. You can configure your printer settings, and you can calibrate your displays. Anything to do with devices that are connected to your computer essentially is going to be in devices and printers. All right, so it's a centralized location to manage your various hardware devices and their configurations. If you're changing settings relating to them, if you're trying to configure them in a specific way, it's going to be in devices and printers. Okay, so at the end of the day, I do recommend just kind of playing around with these. Go into control panel and have a look to see what you can do. That's going to be the best way for you to learn about this, but regardless, that's kind of why I'm going through this briefly, because there's a lot that I can tell you about it. My job, insofar as this exam objective, is to give you a brief idea, a brief overview, and then you need to take that, with that knowledge, go in and play around with it. And then we're going to try to apply that to some questions at the end here, right? That's what I would recommend. Really play around with this. The next one is programs and features. So this is a central hub for managing your installed programs, your optional Windows features, and default program settings. So within this section, you can uninstall programs. You can manage optional Windows features. So for example, you can have a look at Hyper-V, right? If you want to use virtualization software, or maybe you want to disable that, you can do that in this part of the control panel. If you want to set any default programs, you can choose your preferred program for opening specific file types. If you want to use Acrobat for opening PDF files, for example, you could do that there. And you can change your program settings, modify program properties like permissions or repair installations. You can view detailed information about installed software. So just again, if you're managing your programs or features of Windows the Windows version that you're currently using, it's going to be in programs and features, right? It's in the name. It's in the name. A lot of this one is largely intuitive, right? But regardless, we're going through it. Network and Sharing Center. What can you do here? Network and Sharing Center is a hub for managing your network connections, your sharing settings, and troubleshooting network-related issues. So you can have a look at your network status. It shows information about your active network connection. Do you have an active Wi-Fi or Ethernet connection? It displays your connection speed and signal strength, and it offers detailed information about network adapters and connected devices. You can change your network settings as well. It allows you to connect to new Wi-Fi networks that you haven't connected to before. You can modify your network adapter properties, such as your IP address and DNS settings. All right, so we went through that in a I think we're going to go through that in a future video. Sorry, I'll show you specifically how to change those things and what that even means. But you can do that here. You can set up a VPN as well. So all of this stuff you can do in the Network and Sharing Center. Again, play around with it. Have a look yourself to see what you can do. Next one is System. In System, you can do a couple of things. You can have a look at your system information. What version of Windows are you using? The specs of your device. You know, what are you working with? What's your RAM? Over here, you can have a look at what it might look like. What's your RAM? What's your device ID? What's your product ID? What's your system type? What's your processor? All that kind of stuff. If you have any questions or queries about your system, you'll want to use the System tab. Who would have known, right? Who would have guessed? All right, and then we've got Windows Defender Firewall. If you're changing anything about your inbuilt Windows Defender Firewall settings, then you're going to be using Windows Defender Firewall within the control panel to do that. That's going to be the option that you want to select. That's pretty much it, guys. We should be roughly familiar with the kind of things you can change in relation to a firewall, right? We're thinking about what is allowed, what isn't allowed, what kind of traffic is allowed, what kind of traffic isn't allowed, what ports can we use, what ports can we not use. Do we want to use HTTP, or do we want to disable port 80 so that we can only use HTTPS, that kind of stuff, right? That's what you're going to be doing in a firewall, right? So we know what a firewall is. Anything relating to that, we're doing that in the Windows Defender Firewall section. That brings us to Mail. So the Mail section in the control panel, as stated here, it's quite limited. It has limited functionality. So it allows you to do a couple of things. You can access your accounts and view existing email profiles. It's not where you actually access your emails, right? So this is literally it. This is the tab that opens up over here, right? So you can, it says the following profiles are set up on this computer. I don't have any set up on my computer. Like most normal people these days, I use like Hotmail, right? I use Outlook myself. I go onto the internet and I use Outlook. I don't have it on my actual computer itself, so I don't really use this. But if you want to do things relating to mail, you're going to use the Mail section. Okay, sound. So the sound section acts as a central hub for managing your computer's audio settings, and here's what you can do with it. You can manage your playback devices, so you can have a look at and configure your connected playback devices, such as your speakers and your headphones. Which one do you want to use? Which one do you not want to use? You can set the default playback device for your system. Out of all these options, which one do I want my device to use by default? Things to that effect. You can manage your recording devices as well. Configure your system sounds. Enable or disable various system sounds like your notification sounds, alarms, or error sounds. Maybe you don't want those sounds and you want to turn them off because they stress you out. Perfectly understandable. You can do all that in the sound setting section of control panel, right? So you can have a read through that, but that's pretty much what you need to know, right? You're managing your sound-related things, your speakers, what you're using in sound. Now, user accounts. This allows you to manage your user accounts on your Windows 10 computer. You can add new user accounts, manage existing user accounts, and configure your family safety settings. Maybe one of your user accounts is your 10-year-old kid, and you don't want him to access particular websites. You can configure that through the user accounts section. Device manager, you are managing your devices that are connected to your computer, right? So you can have a look at your hardware devices, and you can have a look at the drivers as well. If any of the drivers need to be updated, you can do that there. If you want to uninstall and reinstall any drivers, you can do that there. If you want to check that the most recent drivers are actually installed on your computer, you can do that there. You can see all connected devices, right? If it's related to devices that are connected to your computer, you're going to be doing it through the device manager. So it gives you a centralized overview of your system's hardware components. It enables updating, disabling, or uninstalling device drivers, and it helps diagnose and resolve hardware related issues. You can actually right click and say, I can't remember exactly what the option says, but it says like have a look for hardware related issues, and it'll actually have a look for that specific component for hardware related issues. So that's pretty cool. We then have indexing manager. So this is how you change the indexing of your system. So this is how your device essentially searches through its files. You can set customized ways for your device to search through its files, and you can change how it does that specifically. So if you have a specific way you want it to search through the files, you can do that in indexing manager to make that process more efficient, essentially is what that comes down to, really. All right, administrative tools gives us a couple of things we can do. If we want to do things relating to system management, we can get comprehensive information and management tools for hardware, disks, and services, and more on our device. We can have a look at Event Viewer. Remember, that's like the logs that are created if one of our applications crash within our system. Task Scheduler, if we want to schedule any tasks. System information as well. All that is within administrative tools. It gives us access to those tools that, as an administrator, if we want to see what's going on with the system itself, we have access to all of those things. So think about if you're trying to manage a system as an administrator, all the tools you would need are going to be in this section here. Also, security management. So your local security policy, you can configure your local security settings such as your user rights and permissions. So if you want to change user rights permissions, you can do that here. You can also have granular control over the firewall rules and network traffic. So not just like broad rules, but granular control if you want to make really, really specific changes. And then performance optimization. You can defragment and optimize drives to whatever specific requirements you have. And performance monitor. You can have a look at your system performance metrics such as your CPU, memory, and disk usage. So we've gone through a lot of those individual components in other videos, or we will in the future. Right? So this is the main thing, is administrative tools contains these tools, but these tools themselves are accessible within your Windows 10 system in different methods. This is just like a centralized way to have access to all these tools in the one place. All right. And then you've also got File Explorer options. So also known as folder options. It's a control panel section within Windows 10, of course, and it allows you to talk about how you're going to customize your files and folders and how those are displayed and managed in File Explorer. So under the Show Hidden Files, this is a specific thing you need to know about. If any files are hidden, you can set it to actually show the hidden files so that they're no longer hidden and they are clearly visible. If you want to hide your extension, so instead of saying .jpeg, right, you can hide that so you don't necessarily see what type of file it is. This is what that looks like in the General tab over here. You can have a look at the kind of options that you have available to you. Within the general options, you can clear your File Explorer history. You can change your privacy settings for quick access. You can, which essentially involves configuring how frequently used folders are displayed in quick access. So there's a lot of things you can do here. You can also choose whether folders open in a new window or the same window. So if you want to open a lot of different windows, when you double click on a folder, you can choose whether it opens a new window or whether it opens in the same window. And then in the view options, you can change how you view it, right? So customize your folder view. You can view it as icons, lists, details, content panes, etc. You can configure the visibility of file extensions, right? So we've already talked about the fact that you can do that, etc., right? So how your File Explorer operates, that's in File Explorer options. That's pretty intuitive. And then we've got power options as well. So we can choose our power plan. So do we want to use a lot of power for maximum performance? Do we want to go into battery saver mode to really conserve battery? We can also choose what happens if we close the lid of our laptop. Does it stay on? If you want to have multiple monitors plugged in, you can configure it so that when I close my laptop, it actually stays operating, but just the monitor turns off, and then I'm only using my secondary monitor, right? That's what I do sometimes. If I'm like playing a video game, for example, I'll plug my secondary big gaming monitor into my laptop, but I'll go into power settings and configure it so that when I close the lid, the monitors are still in operation, so that way I can use my secondary monitor. You can also do sleep or suspend. If you're going to walk away for a bit, you can put it into a low power state, and you can put it into standby as well. So anything relating to power, really, you can change. What happens when you press the power button? You can see from these screenshots, if it's on battery or if it's plugged in, you can make those different changes. Maybe you want different things to happen, right? So things to that effect. Now, you can also temporarily suspend USB devices to save power. So there's a lot of things you can do in relation to power in the power options section. And then ease of access. So this is for people that need additional help accessing the system. It could be we've got some examples here. You've got a magnifier, you've got a narrator, so if people can't necessarily see or are visually impaired, it will read the words out to them. You've got an on-screen keyboard, high contrast for, again, people with visibility issues. So it allows you to configure things that will allow people that are otherwise impaired to access the system and create some equity and equality, I suppose. With that being said, let's move on to our questions for this exam objective. See how ready we are for the real thing. The first question reads, your computer screen brightness seems too high and you want to adjust the power saving settings to extend your battery life. Which control panel utility would allow you to modify these settings? A, File Explorer options, B, Power options, C, Ease of access, or D, Sound. Pause the video if you need more time. Your answer coming in 3, 2, 1. Now it is Power options. Of course, anything generally relating to power is going to be in Power options. You don't necessarily even need to get into the specific nitty-gritty parts of it. You just need to know that if it's related to power, it's probably going to be in Power options, right? That's a pretty safe bet. The next question reads, you're concerned about suspicious activity on your computer and want to review settings relating to permitted applications and their permissions. Which control panel utility would allow you to achieve this? A, System, B, Windows Defender Firewall, C, Mail, or D, Sound. Your answer coming in 3, 2, 1. Pause the video if you need more time. It is Windows Defender Firewall. That is answer B. That was hopefully a pretty clear answer there out of the available options. We had, System gives you information on your system, your Windows version, the hardware you're working with. Mail and Sound are clearly irrelevant, so that should have been a relatively simple one there. So look, if you have enjoyed this video, if you did find this video useful, you can head on over to journeytocyber.com where I have my A+ 1102 learning guide for you, where I give you active recall questions, comprehensive notes, and practice examination questions for every single exam objective, and then again broken down further into every single dot point for every single exam objective. So I get really, really, really specific into how detailed I am with that. And for my 1101 learning guide, this is what people have been saying about it. And for the 1102 one, I just made it a billion times better. Your learning guide is goated. I don't comment a lot, but it helps with organized information and helps me piece things together more easily. Thank you so much. Update your notes definitely helped me pass my test today. I downloaded your learning guide. Already, I can see that it will help immensely with studying. I tried other popular resources, but struggled absorbing the material. Will you have one available for the A+ 1102? That's what we're talking about right now. Your lucky day. Head over to journeytocyber.com and grab yours today. All right, look, so like I said, active recall questions, comprehensive notes, practice examination questions with detailed answers all over journeytocyber.com. If you want to get it, you'll be as happy as this guy. Otherwise, I'll see you in the next video, guys. I can't wait to guide you through the rest of your 1102 journey. Bye.